Oh, man. All right. So I'm not sure what's going on. I've got this really slow old computer, and it's giving me today of all days. It's giving me the most shit. So I, it says I'm live. I can't tell because it's not updating. I can't get it to go and do anything. So I have no idea what's happening. So it's freezing. I can see it freezing in the background. So if it looks like shit and sounds like shit, it's shit. Oh, man, that's just how it works, right? And when it rains, it pours. It's episode 200 of Randsanity. 200 days straight of doing this, and today's the day that it's going to completely just melt down. The network connection, the computer, all of it. It's just going to fuck up. Shit, I'm laughing. Laughing because I have to. Yeah, and I spent like hours trying to get this figured out. And yeah, it's just, I assume it's working. I see the live says it's been working for a minute. I can't go live on TikTok. I've tried. The bandwidth is terrible, apparently. And I think it's just the computer. It's an old computer and the RAM's slow and it's just not working. So sorry if it's a horrible connection tonight. My bad. All right, so I'm going to try something different tonight. So I'm trying to do, I've got all these stories that are what happened, that are sort of old and, things. So I can go back and I could say 1960s, the Beatles returned from Hamburg. They played in the blah, blah, blah. Okay, and that's all right. Dylan arrived in England for the first time in 1962. The Beatles recorded on WWDC. Now, it's not WWCD, that was me, but WWDC in Washington, D.C. in 63 became the first radio station to ever broadcast the Beatles. Blah, blah, blah. The Who played a Christmas party. So, all right, I can do that stuff, or I can try and find some stuff that's a little more current. So I found a little more current stuff and stuff that I think is hopefully a little more interesting. I'm going to start with this one. Okay, so for years, Glenn Danzig owned a house befitting his reputation in Los Feliz neighborhood in Los Angeles. Okay? You know who Glenn Danzig is. Okay? Buddy. Okay. It's been subject, this house, for many conversations and articles about this hard rock singer. Even he tried to sell it for nearly a decade for over $1 million. Okay? As a point of reference, the house is nice. It's a nice neighborhood, and it certainly stands out from the rest, but I don't know, about $1 million, all right? But for years, this house has now sat vacant. Okay? Now, this is perfect. Okay? This is how you get memorabilia. This is memorabilia that you want to keep, all right? So here's new lore to this house. Early the other morning, someone posted on Craigslist that a refrigerator from the Danzig house, which he hasn't lived in for years, was left on the curb in front of the house. The refrigerator, okay? I would love to show a picture of it. I'll see if I can find that. Anyway, this is the actual post that was on Craigslist. On the curb in front of Glenn Danzig's abandoned house is the refrigerator that was inside. It's covered with heavy metal and punk rock stickers. It's disgusting inside. I opened it. Some collector would love this. It's funny, but it's not a joke. Just get this thing and throw it in your van or whatever. Get it before the city junk truck comes and takes it. Well, within a few hours, the fridge was taken. But imagine what really could have been inside this thing. I mean, the person who found it thought it was disgusting, but what exactly was in this that was disgusting? It's even funny that the assortment of stickers on the refrigerator included his band, horror punk icons like the Misfits, and of course Danzig. And finally, it's unlikely that the band reunited when it was still living there. So seriously, this is other stickers that joined the fridge make it look like something from like a Gen X elder millennials college dorm room. Okay? I mean, he played Coachella with the Misfits last year. And the prior year he toured with Down and the Cro-Mags. In a less than stellar news, Danzig was selling merch on that tour featuring a black sun and a symbol associated with, Nazi imagery. On New Year's Eve of last year, Danzig, which will be playing in the House of Blues in Anaheim, California, will be dusting off a set of Elvis covers of all things. Okay? Elvis! His last performance of this Elvis set in Los Angeles back in February 23, during the pandemic, Danzig released Danzig Sings Elvis, which featured songs like One Night, Loving Arms, and When It Rains, It Really Pours. So either way, no matter what, some lucky person got this rock metal Los Angeles folklore memorabilia piece. So congratulations to whoever this person is, because that's how you get memorabilia, okay? Dumpster diving. Not going and spending $250,000 for a sport coat or $1 million for a Porsche. Dumpster diving and getting a refrigerator that used to belong to Glenn Danzig. That, to me, is memorabilia that you want to actually have and keep, because you can make the story up. It's not like, oh yeah, I bought this thing at auction, blah, blah, blah. No, this is the best part. I got this off the curb in front of his house because it was thrown there as garbage. Perfect. Love that. Okay, so that's, to me, memorabilia. All right. Well, finally, we hear, over a year since the blow up in Boston, Perry Farrell has apologized for his shitbag blow up in Boston. Perry Farrell and Jane's Addiction each issued public apologies to each other. And first, the singer thought that Dave Navarro on stage at the show in Boston last September that ultimately caused the band to break up. They're not getting back together. They pretty much said, we're done. We're just going to get back together to formally be like, okay, we'll play nice, but the band is not getting together. So in a statement issued on social media, he addressed to Boston and around the world. Farrell took responsibility for the incident. He said that upon reflecting on the incident, I know I didn't handle myself the way I should have. I apologize to our patrons and my bandmates for losing my temper and for disrupting the show. Jane's Addiction has been the center of my life for decades. The band, the songs, the patrons' impact that we've had on the music and culture mean more to me than any words I could ever possibly write down. My aim has always been to give our audience the best possible show, something real, honest, and positive. In Boston, we fell short of that, and I am truly sorry to everyone who was impacted. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank each and everyone for your continued love and support. Perry Farrell. Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks. All right. Jane's Addiction now came out. The band, we'd like to clarify the events surrounding the cancellation of our tour after the show in Boston in September of 24. After the show, without notice to Perry, we unilaterally determined it would be best to not continue the tour and made an inaccurate statement about Perry's mental health, which we regret because he's suing him for $10 million. So, of course, they regret that. Today, we are here to announce that we have come together one last time to resolve our differences so that the legacy of Jane's Addiction will remain the work of the four of us created together. We now look forward to the future as we embark on our separate musical and creative endeavors. Jane's Addiction will forever live in our hearts. We are proud of the music we created together. You, the fans, are our lifeblood, and we will always appreciate you. Jane's Addiction. I mean, what else are you going to do? I mean, they had a complete fucking meltdown. I mean, that was as public as it gets. You're literally live at a concert and you beat up your bandmate and get into a scuffle. Oh, I mean, it's just... And if you remember, this is the first time that they kicked off the tour. This started with all 4 original band members, all right? Perry Farrell, Navarro, bassist Eric Avery, and drummer Stephen Perkins. And this was the first time in over 10 years that they actually all toured together. I mean, the last time they did this was like 2014. So in September of 2024, at the Boston's Leader Pavilion, this is when Perry Farrell angrily shoved and punched Navarro during Ocean Size. I mean, the band then announced on the 15th of September that they were canceling the tour. And in July of 25, the 3 non-Farrell band members sued Perry Farrell for $10 million, basically in losses related to the touring of, the cancel of the tour. Farrell, of course, countersued the trio, blaming them for the conflict. The band can no longer function as a result of the defendant's conduct, including his sudden violent outbursts and demonstrated inability to serve as the band's frontman and vocalist, the band's complaint stated at the time. The physical and emotional financial harms defendants has wrought has deeply impacted the plaintiffs, their families, and their loved ones. It is time for the defendant to face the consequences of his actions and be held accountable. So, it's a shit show. That's all it is. It's just a shit show. And it's sad because I really like Jane's Addiction. I've seen them a bunch of times. They were a great band. Perry Farrell was always a bit of a loose cannon, let's say. It was known that he was always a bit on the edge. But it just sucks that, for a band to go out so historically bad, for them to just melt down like that, that kind of stinks. So I'm sad to see them go. It's unfortunate that that's the way it had to end. But, we can always listen to the Jane's Addiction. I can look at my autographed Perry Farrell and my pictures of Perry and everything else. So, what are you going to do? All right, this just came out, all right? So again, I'm trying to keep stuff current. So that's where I'm at. I'm at some current stuff here. So apparently Kurt Cobain was not a fan of Tool's music video for Sober. I mean, I've seen it, I've watched it, it's okay. But he thought it was a ripoff of the stop motion work of artist the Brothers Quay. So if you do look at the Brothers Quay, it is pretty much their kind of stop action movie. Anyway, so it seems that the issue was mostly over just their 1993 song Sober. According to the story, Cobain felt like the video was a ripoff of Stephen and Timothy Quay for their stop action animations, who Cobain and Tool fellows were both fans of. So this is from a 1993 interview. Cobain decried the Sober music video, saying that he hoped Tool would get sued over ripping off the Quay brothers. Oh God, I hope they get sued, he said. It is such a ripoff. It's a shameless ripoff. I mean, I wanted a Brothers Quay style, but I didn't want anything like that. That was terrible. I mean, it's a neat video, he added. Really nice to look at, but I'd rather watch a Brother Quay video. He also pointed out similarities like meat going through the pipes, calling it shameless, and adding they should be slapped on the wrist for that. Cobain discussed his plans with Flipside in 1992 and teased that he had hoped to do, we're going to put together a lithium single with a couple of months. It's going to have a doll theme. He said, I've been collecting old dolls for most of my life, and I make dolls out of clay that are replicas of 18th century Yugoslavian dolls. Now, if you remember, Courtney Love had a song called Doll Parts. And a lot of people have claimed that Cobain wrote Live Through This, which is the entire album that Courtney Love busted out. I don't know. He collects doll parts. She sings a song called Doll Parts. I'm thinking Cobain wrote the whole thing. Anyway, he said they're really weird. They have elongated heads. They have really long fingers, kind of like the Brother Quay videos. He continued, it's going to be a ripoff of a Brothers Quay video because we asked them to do a video and they refused. There's not much of a theme other than dolls doing weird, surreal things with each other. He basically said, when Courtney Love whole singer and Cobain's wife go to get another ultrasound, we're going to videotape the baby in her womb and put that in the video too. So, I think that, one, Cobain was a weird dude, because there's other stories that I was reading recently about he blew all his money on the Mall of America on these weird medical things like fetuses and like anatomy like dolls and things, like a ton of money, because they had no money, and then he just got rich and that's what he decided to do with it. So he was definitely a little strange to begin with. But if you think about the whole HOLE phenomenon of Courtney Love, her album lived through this, which was a great album. Okay, I know that the radio station, we had some issues with Courtney Love because everyone's like, Courtney killed Kurt. I don't know. He was definitely struggling already. But doll parts, he collected doll parts. This is just one more thing that assures me in my mind that, yeah, she didn't write any of that stuff. That was all him. He wrote the whole album, and he wrote it for her, her vocals, because they were built for her to do. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not mad about it. It's just, it's one of those things I'm not going to say it's conspiracy theory, but it's one of those things that, people talk about that. Oh yeah, well that's, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think it's more than blah, blah, blah. That's just me. Okay. We're going to jump to 71 because David Bowie released his fourth album, Hunky Dory, which is the first time it features all the members of the band, and become known the following year in 1972 as Ziggy Stardust Spiders from Mars. So that was today on the 17th of December in 1971. The two singles that were released from the album, Changes and Andy Warhol, in January of 1972, as well as Life on Mars, which was released late in June 1973, Bowie himself considered the album to be one of his most important in his career. And it is. It's a really good album. I was doing a little sampling of Hunky Dory earlier today. And yeah, Ziggy Stardust Spiders from Mars is so good. And Changes, Life on Mars, that's the good stuff. That's good Bowie. There's actually I saw something that was coming out on TV last night when I was scanning the channels. It was some sort of punk rock thing, and it featured Bowie standing on stage singing. And I was like, what is this? I'm going to have to kind of research and find this, because that was just too good. I was just like this already, because it just seemed like it had all the aspects of what you want in a band TV show. So just saying. All right, now this one's something that you can do today, now, and you can jump on and enjoy this. So the Queens of the Stone Age have released their 2025 concert film, Alive in the Catacombs. And you can actually watch the whole thing for free on YouTube, which is kind of cool. Okay. That's not cool. That's just me being a pilot error, not paying enough attention. But the band released this concert back in June. But now, as the fans wanted to see it, you can actually see this thing live on YouTube. Well, not live, but you can watch it on YouTube. And additionally, the Queens of the Stone Age also shared the accompanying documents Alive in Paris before and after. It's kind of cool. I watched a little bit of it. In the previous press release, basically, Queens of the Stone Age offered some insight into the concept behind the concert. It was filmed and recorded in July of 2024. Alive in the Catacombs features the Queens of the Stone Age as you've never seen or heard them before, the statement read. Every aesthetic decision, every choice of song, every configuration of instruments, absolutely everything was planned and played with deference to the Catacombs. From the acoustics and the ambient sounds, dripping water, echoes, and natural resonance to the darkly atmospheric lifting tones that enhance the music. Now, the thing is that it's notably, the album was also released as a limited edition vinyl package, which contains an exclusive 24-page booklet of this. The one package of the film also offers behind-the-scenes extras, including the Alive in Paris Before and After intimate behind-the-scenes documentary. The film reveals the emotional and physical trails between Queens of Stone Age faced creating this Alive in the Catacombs. Now, the thing is, there was some stuff going on with Josh Homme before he went down and did this. So there's a lot of stuff that's sort of comes out in this. They're going to tour. So they'll be out this summer, and they're going to be playing in Cleveland, Ohio, at Huntington Bank Field this summer. Okay? I believe they're playing on the 10th of August. I think August 10th, they'll be in Huntington Bank in Cleveland. So if you're a Queens fan, go look for tickets now, because that is going to be a good show. It always is. If I can get my butt up there, I'll surely see that. When they played last year, they were here. Last year, I think they played outside at the Promo West, and I caught that show. Always good to see Josh Homme. Always puts on a great show. They're definitely one of those bands that, you know, they're the ones that you want to see now as what it is, rock and roll. I mean, that's sort of rock and roll. So that's the beauty of that. You got to love that. Now, this is fun, interesting, because I wanted to have this one specifically tonight. And, of course, TikTok isn't working tonight, so I'm not live on TikTok to talk about it. But anyway, Billy Corrigan from the Smashing Pumpkins found out that the youth are discovering the Smashing Pumpkins through TikTok. And he related it to his own rebellious ways, which I was like, I find it to be very interesting. The words TikTok and rebellious youth in the same sentence may seem oxymoronic in some way, but not to Billy Corrigan. He learned that kids are discovering their band through TikTok. He basically spoke to iHeartRadio and revealed that the band's social media manager showed him his music community on TikTok. He wasn't aware of it. He learned that there are more young people are discovering the Smashing Pumpkins through TikTok than anywhere else at the moment. For Billy, it reminded him of his own rebellious teenage years and his current approach to engaging with art. He basically said that listening to and watching everything he was told to stay away from. I could see that. Stay away from TikTok, it'll rot your brain. Well, it does a little bit. He first mentioned the band's social media manager started his Smashing Pumpkins mega fan. I felt she understood our world better than someone you would just hire, he explained. As a social media manager, he continued, she's seen a lot of growth with us on TikTok and obviously felt very youth-oriented. She said one of her favorite comments was, she talked to a fan and she said, why do you like the band? And the fan said, because other people told me not to like the band. That right there is perfect. What a perfect analogy for everything. You should hate this. Don't watch it. Mom and dad say, don't do that. I'm doing it. Rebellion at its finest. Billy thought this was a great honor. Someone is forbidden from listening to your band, but they choose to listen anyway. Sounds pretty good to me. But more than that, it resonated in a way that Billy consumed media as well. That's kind of the way I am, he said. If I read a really bad movie review, I'd go out of my way to see the movie. Well, that's why I have to see 200 Motels, because it's supposed to be terrible. And that's why I listened to the worst song ever, and I had to tell you that it was the absolute worst song ever. 8 times out of 10, it's actually a really good movie. And it's because someone has a bone to pick. Billy continued, culture moves in all kinds of undercurrents, and alternative music, by and large, is supposed to be counter to mainstream culture. But when you interface with the mainstream culture, there you go. Oh my God, what is this weird thing you've done? Billy related this to his 1993 release of Siamese Dreams, the Smashing Pumpkins' second album, noting that it's one of the band's most highly regarded albums, and he pointed out that it didn't exactly get glowing reviews. At the time, Siamese Dream came out in 1993. It got a horrible review in Rolling Stones. They said it was way overproduced, harkening back to an era of rock that is dead and all this stuff. Nobody says that now. So that was the person right, or was that person kind of picking up where culture was going? Either way, it's difficult to talk about things that are subjective, like making art, because it's not always for everyone in that exact moment. Well, I think he's correct. I mean, I think that's exactly how it is. Personally, if someone tells me, oh my God, the TV show is horrible, I'm the first one to go, okay, I need to go check it out for myself, because I don't really want to take your opinion for it. No offense, because if I tell you to listen to something or watch something, you're either going to choose to do so because I said it, or you're going to basically say, no, fuck that, I'm not going to do it. And I'm fine with either one. My opinion is my opinion. It is subjective to me. So if you have a different opinion, feel free. And I think that's what makes it, what makes such a great free society that we live in, is that you have that ability to do that still. Because yes, sometimes things that you may think is great, I don't think is so great, and it may not be so great. So I'm not going to be, all excited about it, telling you, oh, this thing's beautiful. No, I'm going to be like, that sucks. Okay. This I found to be funny. All right. Now, I'm a fan of Weezer, and if you had to sort all of the popular songs of the world out, if you look at Weezer's Undone, the Sweater song, along with like Blur's song number 2, you got to put those up there pretty high. Those are pretty good songs. They kind of make sense. The Sweater song actually has more to do with Metallica and the Velvet Underground than anything else. Apparently, during an appearance on Conan O'Brien's podcast in 2022, Rivers Cuomo explained the origin of the single Undone, the Sweater song by Weezer. The topic arose when O'Brien asked Cuomo Rivers about his unique approach to songwriting and what he listened to when he was a child. He said, I'm actually thinking of the Sweater song now, Cuomo repaired. But I remember the moment when it came up, when I came up with that riff. I was about 20 or 21 years old, and I had been exposed to cool music finally after moving to LA from Connecticut. He continued, I got a job at Tower Records and started listening to the Sonic Youth and Pixies, the Velvet Underground. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try and write a Velvet Underground song. So I sat down and came up with this Sweater song riff. From there, Cuomo continued to share the story of Weezer's debut origins. It may have started with the Velvet Underground, but the more music Rivers listened to, the more interested his influences became, and this is where Metallica comes in. I was like, yeah, this is so cool. He said of this initial riff, and a couple years later, it went by and we got signed and put up a record. It blew up. I was very happy. In 1995, we ended up playing this big festival in New York City. And Lars Ulrich was there from Metallica, and I saw him backstage. The truth was, I was a huge metalhead in high school. And that's really how I learned to play the musical instruments I do. It suddenly occurred to me that the Sweater song, that riff, is actually very similar to Metallica's Sanitarium. The table erupted in laughter, and Rivers Cuomo added, if you play that next to each other, they're pretty much identical. There's one crucial difference, however. The Sweater song is a major key, he said. Now, the story doesn't end there, though. So, apparently Rivers had to tell Ulrich this whole story. So then right in there, he continued, that's what I told him. When I met him, he walked up to Ulrich and asked him, how will you handle this information? So Ulrich apparently is totally cool with this. He just ran into him again, and he's just very, very cool. And because he covered Enter Sandman, it's been in Rivers' set now for quite some time. He ended up playing it with the Summer of 22 tour, And they were so close to playing Enter Sandman right before they went on, Metallica was going to be next. So we asked them, hey, is it cool if we play this? And Ulrich said, yeah, that would be cool. We don't have to play it that way. Now, according to Rivers, Weezer didn't actually play Enter Sandman for Metallica that time. He said, we chickened out. But that just conjured up the image of Metallica playing the Sweater Song in return. Surely something like that would unravel the fabric of space and time, much like something else that means occasionally comes undone. How convenient. I think that's hilarious because, again, you tell your biggest fan, your biggest idol that, I may have ripped off one of your songs, and is it okay if we play one of your songs? That's, you have to find that amusing because otherwise, where do these musicians get some of their inspiration from? You always ask other musicians, well, who was your biggest inspiration? Where did you get your musical desire from? Who is your favorite song, your favorite artist, blah, blah, blah. If there isn't some way that they're getting this information, then I don't know. I just find it that there's no such thing as new music. It's just rehashed. There's only so many chords you can play. There's only so many riffs you can do. Listen to sampling. It's taken so many times. And how many songs have I talked about that are number one because they were sampled? And I'm like, wait a second. How does that happen if you sample a song and you can actually go to number one? You didn't write an original piece? I was like, come on. It just seems a little bit silly to me. That's all. Just a little bit silly. So speaking of 200 Motels by Frank Zappa, in 1995, on the 17th of December, a statue of the late Frank Zappa was unveiled in Vilnius, the capital of the Republic of Lithuania. It had been organized by a Zappa fan club president, Silas Petruska. So if you ever make it to go to the Republic of Lithuania, you can find a Frank Zappa statue there. Which I was like, sure, why not? You have to have a nice statue somewhere, right? Now, this one I found to be par for the course. Elvis Presley's daughter, Lisa Marie, agreed to sell 85% of his estate to businessman Robert Sillerman in a deal worth $100 million. Sillerman would run Presley's Memphis home, Graceland, and own Elvis's name and the rights to all revenue from his music and films. In the deal, Lisa Marie would retain possession of Graceland and many of her father's personal effects, but again, giving up the right to the name of Elvis. So apparently, Robert Sillerman now owns Elvis. So Robert Sillerman has left the building. Well, I mean, someone has to leave the building, right? One of the more interesting, Weezer, Indiana 15th college party. Yeah, that's the way it works. Hi, got Jello with me. What up, Jello? Sorry, see, looking over there, it's way far over there. I have to move my screens and get a new computer. Clearly, I have to get a new computer because this one is sucking, just sucking. All right, so Youngblood, who's been at the radio station, who we could have made a drinking game out of Youngblood because every time he spoke, he was like, fucking brilliant. So I was like, okay, every time he says fucking brilliant, everyone have a drink. You'd be drunk by the time you're done with the conversation because literally, I talked about this yesterday. We had to edit because we're just like, he's just going to go. We're not going to be able to stop him from doing it. It doesn't matter if we're live on the air. So just hit the dump button and be ready to edit this out. Anyway, so back in September, Youngblood took the stage with Aerosmith and Nuno Belcourt at the MTV VMAs to pay tribute to Ozzy Osbourne. They performed a medley of Black Sabbath hits, and the crowd was feeling it. Aerosmith honored a peer while Youngblood honored a mentor, and it all should have been well, okay? But instead, Justin and Dan Hawkins of the early 2000s rock band The Darkness aired their grievances about the state of rock and roll. Apparently, their complaints zeroed in on Youngblood as he's been on the fast track to rock stardom recently. Youngblood has since responded once again, but here's the full picture, starting with Dan Hawkins' comments. Another nail in the coffin for rock and roll. The post included footage from the VMAs of Youngblood performing at Ariana Grande's enthusiastically response to the crowd, cynical, nauseating, and more importantly, shit. The shade went back and forth a little bit there. Justin Hawkins supported his brother's initial criticism, claiming that Youngblood seemed to have positioned himself as a natural heir to Ozzy's legacy, having nothing to do with the really important stuff. Fans got involved, making their disdain for the comments known. This led Justin to take his YouTube channel to dispel rumors that The Darkness were trying to start a beef with Youngblood. In the video titled Youngblood and the Cost of Having an Opinion, he shed some light on his own criticism. There's nothing feudy about it, he said, especially when it comes to my reactions to the VMA's performance. None of that was intended to incite a feud. He explained that much of their criticism stemmed from Youngblood's use of auto-tune. We're talking about somebody that came from musical theater via Disney and is now being lauded as the future of rock. And if you have a real-time pitch correction and that kind of background, I think it's okay to be a bit skeptical about it. Now, Youngblood's initial response to The Darkness, they're just bitter and jealous. Youngblood called the comments bitter and jealous during the announcement and appearance with Jack Osbourne's podcast. You'll never see something that's bigger or emotionally evolved than when you talk shit, he explained. Like I said, he loves to say shit. Comments on Justin Hawkins' YouTube brought attention to the point that multiple viewers claimed that both Ozzy Osbourne and James Hetfield, whom Youngblood name dropped as someone he wouldn't take he wouldn't take a shit on a young artist, each have long lists of bands that they've publicly criticized in the past. Now Youngblood's comment, further on the criticism of the Billboard interview from December 15th, the VMAs was coming from people that were trying to be doormen at the party that they weren't invited to, he said. That's the harsh reality of it. Basically tell The Darkness, like, well, you weren't invited, so you want to make, criticisms because you couldn't get in the door. He continued, if you don't have that fear that you need to prove something, you're not on the right path and journey. If people are indifferent about you, then you're not truly anything at all. Essentially, if they love you, you're doing great. If they hate you, you're also doing great. If they're indifferent, you might as well pack up now. Youngblood truly, is he ruining rock and roll with this particular brand of slicked up motorcycle greaser persona, who also uses an auto-tune? Is The Darkness being pretentious and gatekeeping an entire musical style, or for the sake of genre purity? And is Youngblood a poser, and is The Darkness washed up and irrelevant? I don't know. Who can say? They're all good points, and they're bad points, after all. But, the way it works is that real music gets made along the way, and we should just be happy that we get to listen to it. So I won't complain either way. I like Youngblood. I like The Darkness. I like Ozzy, and I like James Hetfield. So let's be glad that they're making music and everything isn't made by generative AI just yet, because that's where it's going. So let's just be thankful that it's not here yet. Okay? So in 2005, we know who the top grossing artist now, 20 years later, Taylor Swift. But in 2005, who were the top grossing artists? U2 was the top grossing artist in 2005. According to Billboard, they had about 3 million people watch their sellout 90-date Vertigo tour, which grossed about $260 million. About a quarter of what Taylor did for her 60 days. The Eagles took home $117 million. from 77 shows. Neil Diamond grossed more than 71 million. Kenny Chesney, there you go, a country artist, 63 million. Paul McCartney, 60 million. Rod Stewart, 49 million. Elton John, 45. Dave Matthews, 45. Jimmy Buffett, because he was not dead yet, 41. And Green Day, 36.5. So not too bad. Not too bad. If you think about that, that's still some good money making it back in those days. I mean, I'm not going to say and scoff when you're talking about $35 million for 1 year's work. It's pretty good if you think about it. In 2015, 10 years ago, Liam Gallagher had a judge so concerned about how much money him and his ex-wife, Nicole Appleton, were spending in a legal dispute over how their assets should be split up. It was revealed that this is nuts. It was revealed that the couple had spent close to $1 million on legal fees just to argue about how they would split up their assets. They spent $1 million to say, all right, yeah, I don't know. So basically this judge, enough. And he decided for them and said that you're just going to divide the property evenly. Each of you gets $6.4 million, and then that's it. I think that's just ridiculous. You're fighting about such quibbly things, and they wasted $1 million where they could have just said, split it in half, and now you get what? Almost 7 million as opposed to 6 point something. So crazy. I think that's just the way it works sometimes, you know. You can't see the forest through the trees, I think is how it works. That's just how that works sometimes. As far as shitty humans go, Marilyn Manson, who was scheduled to go to court next month for his supposed harassment of his assistant, has once again, that has been thrown out. So he's now going to get ahead and go out and tour once again. And he has a slew of concert dates set for spring starting in 2026. It'll start in Highland, California. It'll stop in Las Vegas, Green Bay, and Nashville along the way. And then you're ready for this one. The tour will conclude on May 15th at the 2026 Sonic Temple Festival in Columbus, Ohio. Yep, that's where it's going to go. Mason will be joined by death pop duo Vows for the entire run, excluding the Sonic Temple Festival. Tickets go on sale on December 19th at 10 a.m. So in 2 days, you can start to buy your tickets for good old Marilyn Manson, who'll be playing here at Sonic Temple, Columbus, Ohio, May the 16th. There you go. Good old Marilyn. Mm-hmm. Well, and again, he was facing numerous sexual assault claims and numerous legal cases, all of which seem to have been settled. His ex, Rachel Wood, brought allegations of abuse, even testifying in front of the House Judiciary Committee and the California Senate. She didn't name Manson at the time, but, you know, she is his ex. It was widely speculated who the ex to whom she referred to. Several other women have come forward about that one. In June, the first scheduled concert of Manson's European tour was canceled after significant protests. In July, he was booed at Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath's Back in Bell Beginnings Festival. And a video of Manson playing during the event with the rocker paying tribute to the heavy metal legends. In footage from the concert, audience members could be repeatedly heard booing the musician. So, let's see how Columbus, Ohio deals with our friend Marilyn Manson come next year in the spring here in Columbus. What can I say? I'm sure it'll be all forgotten by then. That's the way that works, right? All right. This was funny. Today is the first episode of The Simpsons. December 17th, 1989 is the first episode of The Simpsons released on this day. And now they've done, I don't know, what, decades of this? Hundreds and hundreds of episodes? A fitting punishment for a crime? In 2018, a poacher from Missouri who was arrested for killing hundreds of deer illegally, hundreds, was sentenced to 1 year in jail. And part of that punishment was that he had to sit and watch the movie Bambi in its entirety 1 month of every month he was sentenced. So he had to watch Bambi 12 times during his 1 year of incarceration because of the amount of murdered deer. Sorry, I don't know why I found that to be so funny. I can't imagine a judge sitting there and that's going to punish me, doles out. And for your crimes, Mr. Brewer, you're going to be forced to watch Bambi once a month for the entirety of your sentence. This guy's probably like, the fuck? What? What? I'm going to watch Bambi? Like, you know, it's like a Clockwork Orange. They're going to like affix little things to his eyes to make him have to stay open as he's like screaming, watching it, as they put eye drops in as he's watching Bambi. I don't know. I just found that to be just ridiculous. I'm sorry. It just, you know, sometimes crime and punishment in this country just seems to be, I don't know, doled out by the masses and just otherwise surreptitiously, yeah, you know what? We're going to make you watch Bambi. That's what we're going to do. You're going to spend a year in jail and watch Bambi. Can you imagine the other crimes for people to do that? You're a mass murderer. You're going to have to watch Silence of the Lambs. You're going to have to watch Tootsie once a year. I mean, what? I can go so bad with that so fast. There's just so many things that just seem so wrong with all of it. I can't even defend my decisions when it comes to some of this because where my brain goes is just so bad. It just really is. What can I tell you? That's the way it works. Anyway, we talked about 21 Pilots last night, that they set the world record for the longest music video ever. Basically saying that it was changing every time, 3 minutes and 40 seconds at a pop. So you got to love that. Lastly, I'm just going to talk a little about Rage Against the Machine and Tom Morello. Because again, I'm changing it up just a little bit from just doing this historical stuff that seems to be only from forever ago. We'll try to do something that's a little more current. So back in the 90s, the Rage Against the Machine concerts were very intense because they were very politically charged. And a lot of that music struck, God bless. A lot of the music struck a very resounding chord. And basically Rage Against the Machine, they always incited something wild in their fans. So when Tom Morello was asked about what created this, he pointed to subterranean disillusionment. He believes existed among the fans worldwide. Subterranean disillusionment. That's a $1.50 word for you. In a researched interview from the 90s, a British reporter spoke with Morello shortly after Rage Against the Machine show in Camden Underworld. I was down there, everyone was just going completely mental and wild, he said. I mean, you were surprised at that reaction? To be honest, no, Morello replied. you kind of get used to it after a while. I mean, what we really do is we seem to tap into a vein of aggression. There's a real subterranean disillusionment with the status quo, which I think is what Rage is really tapping into at the moment, because that is this disillusionment that is very wide and very deep. Morello went on to say that the kids from LA to London, Rage Against the Machine's sound seemed to have struck a resounding chord. He explained, the first couple of shows we played outside of Los Angeles, it did take me a little while to get used to it. In LA, when we play, I know everybody out there. However, when the band played in Berlin or London, I didn't know the people there, but the response is the same. The socio-political subterranean disillusionment with the status quo is the key to the response. Over the years, the perception of Rage Against the Machine's standpoint began to skew. Not because of the bands themselves, but because listeners began projecting their personal politics onto the music. In February of 25, a Rage fan on Twitter made a comment to Morello about the band's political positions. Morello politely clarified that they were never about excluding anyone or exclusively about one side or the other, but about battling injustice. Tom, I would like to personally thank you for red-pilling me with your first album, the fan wrote. At the time, it applied to Republicans. Now it applies to Democrats. Let's decentralize the power structure, Morello replied. You're welcome, but as a reminder, the first Rage Against the Machine record came out during the Clinton administration. Then as now, that music critiqued the capitalist, white, supremacist power structure that we all still feel in effect. Currently more so than ever, if you listen more closely, like really listen, it's quite clear. I always found Rage Against the Machine to be, I think, exactly that. Subterranean disillusionment with the status quo. I love that. That is my new favorite expression. I'm just feeling, because I'm downstairs, this is my subterranean disillusionment. Because I'm down here. All right. Well, there you go. So that was the new and improved, hopefully, stuff. The only birthdays I found that really mattered to me today was Eugene Levy, 79 today. I loved him in Best of Show. He's just one of those really funny actors. His son's pretty funny, too. Bill Pullman, 72 today. Remember, he was the president Independence Day and a bunch of other stuffs. And Mila Jovovich, the actress who was Multipass in one of those great movies with Bruce Willis. Multipass. Fifth Element, remember her? Anyway, she's 50 today. We actually met Mila once. She came to the radio station many years ago. I'll never forget. She was a model then, and she had come out with a song, so she was doing a radio station stop tour like a lot of artists do. And she came in the studio, just pulled out a joint and lit it up. Very casually, just smoking the joint. I remember we're standing in the studio, and this is the old studio, 1721 South High Street. You know, bars on the window studio. And I remember Andy kind of sitting there, and he just kind of looked at me, and I was like, whatever, man. It's like, I don't really care. Musician. Let her do what she wants to do. So she just sat there and smoked a joint and did her interview on the air. And no big deal. We just thought it was kind of funny. Just hanging out with Mila, smoking joints. That's the way it works sometimes, kids. The bands just do what the bands want to do. All right. So, Mila. All right. So that was it. That was episode 200. Sorry the TikTok didn't get to work tonight. Hopefully the sound quality and the video quality wasn't too shitty tonight. I'm going to work on trying to get a new computer for tomorrow. I can't afford this because we haven't made any money doing this, but I don't know. That's what credit cards are for, I guess. I don't know. We'll have to see. I need to figure something out because this is This is not working the way I need to be working. Just saying. Anyway, I appreciate everybody that's joined me on this very strange journey so far of my newfound entertainment to keep myself occupied and my brain from going to complete mush. My subterranean disillusionment in my basement, in my little 7 by 8 foot studio with my Star Wars Lego. Oh, I am going to give you a tour of the Lego room. I think what I'm going to do is I'll start down here and I'll just do a short snippet of all the Lego that exists in this house. From literally, I don't have it on me, but every keychain has Legos on it. Typically, it's going to have some sort of a Lego. There's actually Lego on a keychain over here. I think everyone has Lego on their keychains. To Lego in the kitchen, living room, dining room, Christmas decorations, to an entire room dedicated to just Lego. I am not kidding you. There's so much Lego there. I cannot tell you the amount of money that's been spent on Lego, but more than I probably should have ever spent on Legos. Anyway, appreciate for all being here. Thank you so much. Grateful to be having this much fun by myself in my basement with all of you out there. So thank you. And we will, in fact, still change nothing when it comes to how I end, because we will just reach over here, find the little button that I know is there, and I'm just going to push it and say, we fade to black. Stupendous. And my bit rate is terrible. Why is the bit rate terrible? I don't know.